he sustained before the NBA Finals. The Bucks star became the second player ever to generate at least 40 points and collect 10 rebounds in back-to-back Finals outings. The only other player to do so was Shaq. And now Giannis and Milwaukee are on the heels of Phoenix, heading into Game 4 as they look to tie the series tomorrow night. Chris Broussard's still here. Chris, how sold are you on Giannis as a playoff superstar?
I'm sold on him as a superstar, and I'm sold on him as a playoff superstar when he plays to his strengths. All right, which he's been doing lately. He did it in Game 3. He did it largely in Game 2. And by that, I mean playing inside and dominating the interior. We know, we talked about it yesterday, all his points off of the free throw line came in the paint in Game 3. All right, and then what that allowed him to do was get DeAndre Ayton in foul trouble. It got him to the free throw line 17 times. So when Giannis plays to his strength in the paint, he is indeed a playoff superstar. It's when he doesn't do that, when he's bringing the ball up court in the half-court set, and he's revving up on the perimeter, and everybody knows, okay, he's going to drive, and he's waiting, and he drives. That's when the wall works, okay? If he's cutting to the basket, rolling to the basket, backdoor cuts, obviously getting rebounds, or if he's in transition and he goes all the way to the hole with the Euro step, the wall can't work against those types of things. But it'll work when he's setting up on the perimeter and revving up to drive. And so that's what happened against Toronto 2 years ago. That happened largely against Miami last year. So when he plays more in the interior game, he's a superstar. Now, he's not a closer. His lack of a jump shot and his lack of a go-to move hinder him in that regard right now. But Shaq wasn't the closer most of the time. I mean, we think of Kobe, we think of Robert Horry, we think of Derek Fisher even, but Shaq wasn't necessarily the guy they always went to down the stretch. So that doesn't mean Giannis can't lead a team and be a superstar in the playoffs. So I think he is definitely playing like a playoff superstar, and he's only 26. So I think if he does it this year, he's just going to continue doing it in the future.
Chris, for me, I put him at a 10 because I believe once you become a superstar, that doesn't leave whether you're in the postseason, the regular season or the postseason. I just look at it, if you underperform, we're going to judge you more harshly. The critique is going to become more intense. And that's what has happened, is because we look at Giannis and we saw what he did, what he was in the regular season. We see what he did in those MVP seasons, and sometimes those didn't match up. But there have been very few guys that have been able to get 40-point back-to-back games in NBA Finals games. There have been very few. He's done that. There have been very few guys that can say that they have a resume like Giannis. And there's a reason why we judge superstars. When we look at Dame and we look at CJ, when CJ doesn't perform, we don't judge him as harsh as we judge Dame because they're not equal. CJ is not a superstar. Dame's the superstar. So Dame gets the criticism. Same thing with LeBron. We judge LeBron harsh because he's a superstar. KD harsh, he's a superstar. James Harden, he's a superstar. And when they don't perform, we judge them more harshly than we would another player. So for me, he is a superstar. Has he come up in some situations? But this notion, when did this ever happen, Chris, is that every single game in the playoff, superstars, be it Michael Jordan, be it Charles Barkley, be it whomever, performed every single game. We got to stop this. We've convinced everybody. The Last Dance has convinced everybody that Michael scored 40 points every single game. Magic had 20 and 20 every single game. Larry Bird had a 25, 10, and 8 every single game. And that's not the case. A superstar doesn't lose his superstardom if he doesn't play well. But we're going to critique him really, really intensely. We're going to judge him more harsh than we would another. So I'm on Giannis's back. I've been in Giannis's corner because all I've heard is what he can't do. But he got a pretty impressive resume for a guy that has a lot of cans. He can't shoot the three. He can't shoot the mid-range. He can't shoot free throws. All I know is he's averaging 34 and 14 on 62% shooting, and he has his team in the finals, and he beat the best player on the planet to get there.
Timeout. You have ridiculed this still young man way more than I have over the last 2 years.
No.
He's not this, and he's not that, and he's not this, and he's not that. And I say, you're right.
And you know why? Because he's a superstar. I didn't take that stardom away from him, Chris. He's still that. And that's why I judge him so harshly, just like I do all the other superstars.
When did he get the super ahead of star? What qualified him for that in the postseason? What playoff run have you watched that I missed that he became a superstar? Because I don't know one. I got it all right before my very eyes.
Okay.
I've watched it all. I've watched 7 years of playoff runs that have ended in disaster and calamity for Giannis. And you can't get the super until you show me deep into the playoffs.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah.
So the only way you could become a superstar is that you had to have a long playoff run.
Sure.
Because you know Michael Jordan only won one playoff game in his first 10.
Okay.
But they labeled him a superstar. Am I correct, Chris Broussard?
Well, he's by far the best player in the game.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. So all I know is that I'm not ready to just cave in and say, you know what? Everybody's right. All I hear is, quit slandering this man's name.
Yeah,
Give him his respect.
Dude, put some respect on his name.
I've somehow turned Giannis now into a sympathetic figure. And I'm not going to give in and give up because all I know is that Phoenix is still up 2-1.
Yes.
And all I know is that Phoenix has a point differential lead of plus three. They're
plus three.
They're plus three and just points scored in this series so far. Okay, show me more. You got to do it tomorrow night. And that'll make it 2-2. And then for sure, I need one big game that you win at Phoenix because you're going to have to win one big game, right?
Let me ask you this though. So if he doesn't win the series, he's not a superstar.
No, he's not a superstar to me. I know he won back-to-back MVPs, but what have I seen? What have I seen? I've seen these 2 years. I saw 2019 against Kawhi and company in Toronto. I saw them go up 2-0 and lose 4 straight games, and I don't want to slander this man's name any more than I have to by reading the numbers that declined from his MVP numbers that year. It was a disaster for Giannis. And what about the bubble trouble? What about Miami? He runs into Miami, and they lose the first 3.
He didn't want to be there.
Then he got hurt.
He didn't want to be there.
Okay, maybe he didn't want to be there.
You know,
but that's 2 years in a row. And then I look at all the playoff series they lost by averages of 21 points in the 4 losses, by 11, by 10. I haven't seen anything. I see a man who has huge holes in his game because we all agree he can't shoot from the mid-range. He can't shoot from 3. He had one rare hot night at the free throw line the other night. I don't know what got into him. His home crowd got into him. But in general...